Thank you very much, our viewers, wherever you are. My name is Victor Alexi, and this is Mark Media. And today I'm privileged to host one of the political analysts, activists, and who is well versed with the latest information and is rich in knowledge. You are highly welcome, sir, Mr. Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me on your show. Chris Madiongovi, associate. I'm an activist and rights activist and political commentator. Yes.
And I'm very sure wherever your mom is and your dad, you must be very, very, very happy to give birth to such a brilliant son
Yes.
in the eastern state of Africa.
Yes, you know, once you give birth to a child, it becomes the child of the entire community. Yeah, and it's an issue of pride. I believe it's an issue of pride for all of them, the entire community at large. And for my parents, actually, mom who is not there, actually, and for my dad, because dad is a person who is so much keen on issues of intellect and reading books and stuff like that. So I think he must be happy about it all. Yeah.
Actually, I want to assure you, our viewers, wherever you are, when you just tune in to Smart Media, you must learn. Here, you must learn. That's why we have the Mr. Chris. And today we're going to talk about genetic modified organisms. That's a GMO food. Of late, when the new regime led by His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto talked about how he's going to fertilize production, and they introduced the GMO. But now you can say the right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, I think was it last week in Givenchy Garden, he really condemned the introduction of the GMO back to the country. Many associate GMO food with the cancer. What is your opinion concerning the same? Because many citizens, they are really worried.
Actually, the question of those genetically modified organisms is a thing that has been talked about for quite some time. This is not the first time the genetically modified organisms has been on the topic of the national discussion. Some time back during the Kibaki regime, there was a task force that was created to look into them, the findings of which some claim were quite to the negative of it all, that we should not have those genetically modified organisms. But I think much of the reasons why some people decided that we should not have those genetically modified organisms is the fact that there was the element of ethics, the ethics of it all, to see whether the genetically modified organisms are up to the very good of human consumption. And I can say that those ethical issues were basically motivated by the fact that some people claim that there were health risks associated with them. And then the science behind it, the science behind the genetic modifications. So it's a pendulum. It's a story of back and forth, but we cannot really say that it was backed by real life-threatening reasons, because there could be life-threatening reasons that anyone can look into and perhaps believe that there was a threat, but I believe there was no threat, any plausible reason as to why genetically modified. When it comes to cancer is a complex thing. People are still doing a lot of research on it. There are many causative factors to that so-called cancer, and I don't believe that genetically modified organisms could be one of the reasons. One thing that people don't understand is that the genetically modified organisms has a lot of nutrients that actually help in the human genome, in the genes and so on. It helps in the human cells and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, I don't believe that those people had a reason as to why we can have the GMO not to be in place. And it should also be understood that it's not just for the sake of improved yields, cheaper crops, but also for the ensuring that the biodiversity of our nation itself is going to be a contributory factor as to where the GMOs are going to be found and stuff like that. Yes.
But Mr. Chris, some may argue that the government will have another option rather than GMO thing, because now this, to some extent, maybe it has brought some risk to some people. What, do you think the government did not have another option of trying to ensure that at least their citizens, they can get cheaper food or cheaper commodity without the introduction of probably the GMO thing?
And that is why you find that they created that thing they're calling subsidized. Yeah? There is that subsidies being created, yeah, to the farmers, so that farmers can be able to produce food at a cheaper price. Apart from that, you realize that most of the people will not be forced to eat genetically modified organisms, because if you are in an area where the agricultural potential of that area doesn't necessitate genetically modified organisms, definitely you wouldn't be forced to use the genetically modified crops and stuff like that. And then another thing is that in the shelves also, the shelves will not be packed with genetically modified foods through and through. No, there will be those that it's your pocket now to decide whether you'll go for the organic, the ones that are grown by organic fertilizers and stuff like that, the organic foods basically, and those that are genetically modified. But it should also be understood that yes.
A clarification. So maybe according to your argument, do you think that GMO is somewhat cheaper or what? Because you're talking about in the shelf, people go and buy based on what they have in their pocket.
It is cheap. It is cheap. Genetically modified organisms are always cheap. The chicken that you eat on the shelves are usually genetically modified.
So it is affordable to every Kenyan?
It can't be. There is nothing that is always very affordable to every Kenyan.
But at least to most of them?
To most of them. To most of them, yes. To most of them. You will find some foods that can be affordable to a large section of Kenyans. And those who can't afford, you can go for the organic ones.
But also, some people may say that before now, the introduction of GMO, you can see according to the research, the statistics, it shows that initially cancer, the level of cancer was very low compared to now when most of the countries, especially in the western part of it, cancer is rampant. So many Kenyans have that fear that the introduction of when the GMO has been allowed, then there's high chances of cancer. In Kenya, maybe many people will die. And also some people believe that these Europeans, the reason why they brought the issue to do with GMO is just to reduce the population of Africa so that they can they can make them, they can colonize them again.
Listen, the story of Africa recolonization might not be achieved through genetically modified organisms, yeah? Because actually when you bring about genetically modified organisms, there are some standards, yes? The Kenya Bureau of Standards will deal into that to see whether they meet the standards, the foods on our shelves are going to meet the standards. But apart from that, you find that you cannot use that to reduce the population, because actually some of the nutrients that are going to be found in those foods are going to be fortified in such a way that you're going to have almost every nutrient that you need. That one in itself prolongs life, it doesn't reduce life. So that one, and then the story of cancer, you know that cancer has been there for a very long time, for years. The rampant cases of cancer might be associated with many other issues. Not necessarily GMO, genetically modified organisms. I mean, people have eaten those things and people have been alive. And many of those countries, and actually many of you people have been eating those chickens, taking the milk from genetically modified and so on. There's nothing.
But can you compare, for instance, our ancestors, their lifespan and our lifespan? Because right now we are seeing many youth at the age of 20, 30, they are dying. What's the cause of it? And the majority at the young age, at the age of 15, somebody has got cancer. Maybe in the 20th century, we never used to have such because cancer was associated with old age. Nowadays, a child of 5 years got the cancer. So people are worried.
It's a hen and chicken quandary, yeah? It's a hen and egg quandary as to what gives birth to the other. We might not know whether it's the treatment that creates the cancer or the cancer is already there and is being taken care of by the treatment. But it's not about genetic modified organisms. People have eaten those things. If at all the ratio of cancer to genetic modified organisms consumption is could have been an indicator, and then everyone should have been sick today. But I can say that there are other factors apart from those that are actually associated with the question of people consuming these genetically modified organisms. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we want to take a short commercial break, and I want you to tell our viewers, those who are following us from abroad and wherever they are, that we are coming back after a short break.
Yes, this is Smack Media. We're coming back after a short break. Subscribe to our channel. God bless.